welcome everyone to session 6 of our Living Your Best Life series. It's almost coming to an end. We've got one more session next week. Today we are going to be focusing on values and goals, which is something, it's a really important topic that we're going to be getting into today. Let's get my clicker to work. There we go. So for those of you who are regulars, you would know the process. For those who are new and haven't been before, how it works is I basically go through a set of tools, which is going to be the topic we're discussing and exploring. And then afterwards, we will have discussions around those topics, which enable you to kind of hear from each other and share experiences, which will help to facilitate a greater learning. So as always, my goal and aim is to unlock insight, and hopefully by the end of this webinar, you will have a greater awareness and understanding in terms of values and your goals and how those two can work together. So just a quick recap over last week. So we looked at in terms of ways that we can develop and build, and facing challenges, and how we can grow through struggles. And so the first thing that we kind of touched on was about building muscle, and we went over the understanding of how muscle mass is developed. And it's through that process of the body being broken down and repairing itself, and the muscles forming, and becoming stronger as a result of that. And so one of the interesting things in terms of, in order for that process to happen, is that we must go through pain. And, we have to develop not just our physical muscles, but our emotional and our mental and our resilience and our spiritual muscles. And all of those processes that we go through, we have to face a challenge. We have to go through a struggle. We have to go through something that will enable us to develop and grow. The second thing we looked at is around the challenge, and people really identified with this in terms of the sharpener represents those difficulties, those problems, those troubles, those issues that we may have to go through. And we are the pencil. And, the only way for that pencil to be able to do its purpose in terms of writing, it has to go into the sharpener. And in order for us to grow and develop in resilience, in patience, in whatever it is we want to do, we have to be willing to face our challenges and, embrace the sharpener, the challenge, the difficulty, so that we can grow. And then the final thing we looked at was around courage. And we looked at the 6 different types of courage, which are physical, social, intellectual, moral, emotional, and spiritual. And, had a really deep conversation afterwards with the things that came out of that, and it was really interesting. I was reflecting over it afterwards, and I think, it was really powerful, the conversations that were coming out and what people had reflected on, and being able to look at their own lives and see where they have operated in some of those areas of courage, and that is the thing for us going forwards to be mindful of, and which ones we're going to choose, especially if we know that there is a challenge, a particular challenge that we have to face. We can choose which courage we're going to walk in that day, and make a conscious decision to do that. So that was a recap over what we discussed last week. So I'm just going to check. Okay, excellent. Thank you. So last week, I was saying that people can go to my YouTube channel. Some people were asking for the name of it and stuff, so I've put it in this one. So it's Ezra, A.K.A. Voice of Reason, and this is a screenshot of some of the stuff that is available on there. So you've got loads of different resources and webinars and videos that you can look at in your own time. And please do subscribe. So subscribe and hit the bell so you can be alerted whenever I do upload a new video. So, values and goals. So in terms of values, values are really important because they are often the driving force behind what we do, behind why we do it, and how we do it. And values are so important and should be so important to us because they play a key role in determining how we do things and why we do things, and especially difficult things, why we do continue and push through until we achieve success is often based on our values. So, your values are the things that you believe are important in the way that you live and work. They should determine your priorities, and deep down, they're probably the measure you use to tell if your life is turning out the way you want it to. Yeah. So if your value, for example, is integrity, and there's something that comes up where you need to speak up about something, and even though you may have a bit of anxiety and fear about talking about that thing, and even though there's a chance that this is looking at social courage, that people may look at you differently if you do say that, that because it's so strong in terms of your value, that even in doing it, you get a sense of reward regardless of what the outcome will be, because you've lived in accordance to something that's important to you. You haven't violated yourself. And this is why values are so important, because when we are aware of them, and people have different sets of values, we have our high values and we have just values that we still do respect and like, but they're not at the highest in terms of what's important to us. And it's really important that we do understand that, because when you are operating out of your higher values, it is much easier for you to do whatever that thing is you need to do without any outside influence. When you're operating out of your higher values, it gives you a drive and determination like nothing else. And so, one of the things, if you are not sure what your higher values are, it's really important that you start to reflect on that, because your higher values will determine how you operate in situations. And if you're living by your higher values, that's the greatest chance of you succeeding in whatever it is you want to do. The problem is, a lot of the time is people try to live by other people's values. And as a result, you know, you find that you're constantly battling to try and do things because that's not what moves you. And it's really important that we each find and understand what our values are and what our higher values are. Because when you are living by those, you do things, intrinsically. You don't have to think about it. And that's even if it involves something that may cause pain or struggle or battle. So those are values. But then we also have goals. And goals are, they're forward thinking plans and objectives and desires that you may have. So your goal may be around well-being, it may be about getting a promotion, it may be about starting up your business, it may be about being financially stable, it may be about personal development. But whatever it is, it's something in the future. And I'm sure we all know about the acronym in terms of when we're setting goals, that they should be SMART. They should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. And that helps us to make sure that the goals are something that we can achieve. If it's too vague and we don't know, then how do we know if we've achieved it? If it's not measurable, how can we be sure that we're on the right track? If it's not attainable, then it's futile. You're trying to get something that you can never achieve. If it's not relevant, if it's not linking to your values, if it's not something that unites you with your why, then why would you continue if it gets too difficult? And if it's not time bound, then it's easy to just procrastinate because you've not set any time limits for it. So smart goals are really important. But a goal is an idea of a desirable or future result that people envision or plan or commit to achieving. We commonly endeavor to reach goals over specific periods by setting deadlines. So that's why we have deadlines for stuff. If you do miss the deadline, it doesn't mean that you can't continue in that goal, but it gives you a measuring rod. That's the measurable part of the M in SMART. So let's break this down a bit further. So it's really important that we have an understanding of values. Values should always come first and goals come second. Okay? Because your values are the driver that will help you to achieve your goals. And so it's really important that we understand that whatever your goal is that you have, your value should be linking in to drive you closer to that goal. And we're going to look at that. Because values are the qualities that you want to bring to your ongoing behavior. And so it's really important that we do understand, like, what is the value for you in your life right now that you want to bring into your behavior in whatever it is you're doing. Because once you start to recognize that and you start to pay attention to that, whatever goal you set, you use that value to get you there. If someone's value is to honor, you know, their conscience, so they will do things based on if it feels right to them in their conscience, regardless of if that's going to upset someone else or whether that is going to mean that they're going to have courageous conversations. If their values is that and they bring that into their behavior, that will help them to achieve whatever goal it is that they're going to do. Because if your goal is, say, for example, to lose weight, and a value of yours is listening to your inner voice, and your friends are saying, let's go out to Pizza Hut, which for you is a no-no because you want to lose weight. Your value will drive that behavior and say, no, it's okay. You lot can go without me. It's all right. But if you're not living by your values, you may want to people please and say, oh, you know, because when it was their birthday, when it was my birthday, they came out. So you feel emotionally attached that you have to go to their birthday. But going to their birthday and where they're going to doesn't unite with your values. And this is why your values are meant to drive and bring you to your ongoing behavior. They are also the qualities that you want to use to achieve your goals. So when you achieve your goals, and if you don't achieve your goals, your values are still there. Your values are not dependent on if you achieve your goals. Even when you don't, you still have that value. So if your value is, I'm going to always forgive myself. If I make a mistake, I'm going to forgive myself. And even if you say to yourself, right, I'm going to try and not make that mistake again, and you do, because your value is, I'm going to forgive myself and give myself another chance, you don't hold yourself guilt-ridden because you made that same mistake again. And values come first because they are here right now in this very moment. And you can choose to act on them or not. And so it's really important. So whatever it is for you, if you have a value that you choose today that you want to start operating in, that's yours to operate in from now. It's not you're waiting for a moment to do it. If you're going to have a value to say that I'm going to be thankful for every day in my life, that's what you start now. Regardless if you didn't get something today that you wanted, you start to operate in it now. And using your values enables you to successfully achieve your goals. And so once you start to operate out of your values, it will enable you to successfully achieve your goals. Because remember now, your values is something that's a higher standard that you adhere to. And so once you are operating out of that, it's much easier to achieve your goals. And this kind of works like this. So you are the master chef of your life. I am the master chef of my life. No one else can take control of our lives. We have to master it. We're the CEOs and we are the master chef of our own lives. Okay. But for every chef, they use, when they're dealing and making bread, they use flour. Flour is symbolic of our values. Our values have to be sprinkled over every part of our lives. There should never be anything we're doing that is not aligned with our values. Because when we do, we don't feel good about it. When we do, we have guilt and regret afterwards because we violated something of ourselves that is really important to ourselves. And so, what the goal is, as the master chef of your life, is to make sure you sprinkle your values over every area of your life. And you will find your decisions will be much better, your your well-being will be much better. And when you reflect over your life and over your day, you'll be much more appreciative to what you have achieved. And so the key is to make sure that we all sprinkle our values on every aspect of our lives so that that bread, when we come to eat it, when we come to look at it, it will be pleasing to our eyes, pleasing to our hearts, and pleasing to our minds. So understanding goals. So goals come second because they are in the future. So we set them, try to be them, or reach them. So by definition, they are something that you are moving towards. Okay. So once it is achieved, it's no longer a goal anymore. So I had a goal of running a 7-part Live Your Best Life webinar series. I am at section 6 now that I am delivering. So 1 to 5 are gone. Those part of the goals have been achieved. Next week, when I deliver the last one, that goal has been achieved. It's no longer a goal anymore. But my values that enabled me to put this together in a way that made me feel it will be of benefit to other people was my value of integrity. And so your values stay with you. Your goals are things of future that you can achieve and then you move on to the next one. So by placing so much emphasis on the goal, the value gets lost. And this is where a lot of people make the mistake. When the value gets lost, which is the undercurrent, the anchor, and the golden thread that will keep you on track to achieving your goal, once that is lost, it's very easy to lose momentum, to lose motivation, and to get lost in your vision. So values provide the daily little steps to enable you to reach your goal. And it is the behavioral principle known as shaping behavior. And so it's really important that we are aware of how important our values are in terms of guiding us, in terms of leading us, in terms of directing us and shaping our behavior. So for example, lots of people would say, I want to lose weight. Okay. And that essentially is what they want to do. They want to lose weight. But if you put things in a negative sense, I need to lose weight, I've put on too much weight and these kind of things, it puts a very heavy burden on you and is not necessarily values focused. But if someone says, you know, I want to eat differently to nurture and heal myself, there's a completely different way in terms of how you're speaking to yourself about the situation and how your mind will focus on it because it's coming from a good place rather than a negative place. So the next time when you're thinking about putting that donut, say for example, into your mouth, and you think, you know what, does that nurture me? No, I want to heal myself. Rather than I can't do this, I don't want to put on weight. It becomes very negative and very goal focused. Whereas you want to be values focused, because values is that I want to nurture and heal myself. So whatever I do, it's got to nurture and heal me. So when you starting thinking negative thoughts and you're starting to ruminate, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait. I want to heal myself. I want to nurture myself. So I'm going to give myself an affirmation. So your value is what will drive you to your goal. If your goal's focused, it's very easy for you to lose sight of your values and it's going to be hard for you to maintain that. So it's really important that we understand the difference. And values are like the soul from which morals and ethics and codes of conduct grow. And so, if you see someone that is driven, if someone's willing to go through um, a lot of pain, a lot of struggle, a lot of situations in order to get to a place, if you ask that individual what drove them, well, how come, you will hear the values come out. You will hear, you know, as Martin Luther King said, it's always the right time to do what is right. That's a value. And so that would have driven him to do and to put himself in the situations that he went through in order for the struggle of, human rights, and being able to be accepted to manifest. And so it's really important that we do understand values come first, and you use your values to get you to your goals, which are future. So we're going to have a discussion, and we're going to be today we're going to do it slightly different. So within each of your groups, you can kind of touch on all of these points. So have a discussion. What are values and goals to you? Was you aware of the difference between the two? And, for you, is there a value or a higher value that you do hold yourself to? Have that discussion. And in terms of, your values enable you to achieve your goals. Can you reflect back and see how that has happened for you in the past? And your goals are something that you're moving towards. Is there a goal that you currently have, or is there a goal that you're going to have thought about today that you're going to start to try to strive towards, and how you're going to use your values to help you to do that?